Then it was decided that we dare to do it with the turbocharger.
The story begins at the 1974 Paris Salon. Porsche introduces a high-performance sports car that sets standards. And from the very beginning, for many, it is more than a car.
My love affair with Porsche started as a 10-year-old when my father took me to the London Earls Court Motor Show. That was where I first laid eyes on the white Martini Turbo. In the blink of an eye, I fell in love with that car.
My first real experience was when I was financially able to buy a 3.3-liter turbo in 1977. I was the proudest person in the world. That was so cool. We had just had the idea with this exhaust gas turbocharger that worked so well on the 917. So you adapt what has proven to be good in racing to the standard sports car. But this whole combination, that it was still a car that you could drive every day with, yet you could also go to the racetrack, that was huge. The shape, the wide cheeks at the back, and then he had that rear wing with that rubber lip raised. It was a sensation. The shortcoming was the responsiveness, because that simply has to work with a series engine in traffic or even with a racing engine. But the engine responds immediately when you accelerate, for example. You accelerated today and he set off tomorrow. That was the problem with the car. But again, the challenge for me, because you just had to be on the gas at the corner entrance so that power was available at the corner exit. And of course, that has given the expert advantages. To normal people, it could be scary. We drove over to Columbus, Ohio, and introduced the 911 Turbo for the USA. This was completely new territory for the journalists. I then had to give a short lecture about what that actually means. But that was well received, I think.
Evolution instead of revolution. The 911 Turbo has always remained true to itself. It hasn't changed its character in 4.5 decades, and stood then as today for the technology carrier of the 911 series. A classic that occupies a very special place in the history of automotive development.
When I drove to the Formula One paddock at the time, everyone came. Whether it was James Hunt, Vittorio Brambilla, or Ronnie Peterson, they all wanted to drive that car, but nobody was allowed to drive it. Only I drove it.
What is a philosophy? Do you need a philosophy? What do you do when you've built one of the fastest, most powerful, daring, legendary, and beloved sports cars the world has ever seen? You build it again, but faster, stronger, even more dynamic and exciting than ever. You build it 7 times over 40 years, always evolving. No ifs and buts, again and again. This is not possible without an attitude that essentially defines every 911 Turbo. The power principle. The role model, motorsport. That makes the 911 Turbo the spearhead of the Series 911. This attitude is typically Porsche. Not only with the 911, just typically turbo. And always looking forwards. That is the philosophy of the 911 Turbo. And yes, you need it.